We are all born with senses to navigate our world. Our sensors translate the physical space, pressure, temperature, light, sound, and convert it into something we can use. So a sensor, in a general sense, is something that allows us to sense. Say there's a box. How would we determine what's in the box? Sight, touch, smell, taste? It's important to understand what our senses are good at and where they lack. For example, we can distinguish between hot and cold, but we're not very good at accurately determining a single temperature. We can see vibrant colors around us, but in the universe, we can only see a tiny amount of all the light that's there. So what if what's in the box is beyond what we can sense? We must create a new sensor. The heritage of our sensors that we've created tells the story of how humans move and innovate through the world. So, in the beginning, we walked. We walked a lot. For 7 million years, we traveled walking, and then later we adopted dogs and horses to speed up our walking. On water, we used rafts, which became canoes, which began to harness the wind. All this was done with our biological sensors. Now, this required us to settle near water. We built empires, but as they grew beyond a reasonable range of horses and feet, trouble usually happened. On water, it began to change. So by this time, we had a calendar, we saw stars, we knew where north was. But during the day, and when it was cloudy, that didn't help you from a boat at this time. Boats that left sight of the coastline often never returned. Then, around 1000 AD, the sign quadrant and the magnetic compass were created. This allowed navigators to understand position and where they were. They could leave shore. They could go beyond the horizon. That created a boom. Boats got bigger, traveled farther, trade expanded, empires expanded. And then nothing. For almost 700 years, there was no significant innovation in transportation. Now, we had great scientists, great engineers during this time. There was a heritage of learning. Things were created, but no new innovations. Then, in 1650, we create the first method to measure pressure. Now, no matter what you see here, you've done this as a child with a glass of milk and a straw. This is a way to measure pressure of a gas. Now, if I apply heat, I can also change the pressure. But at this time, there was no way to measure temperature. 50 years later, we have our first thermometer. Now we have pressure and temperature. This lets us create or describe the science of thermodynamics. 20 more years, we have a pitot tube, which lets us measure pressure in a moving fluid. And likewise, we can use that to actually determine the flow of the fluid. This allows thermodynamics to become fluid dynamics. But what changed? We didn't invent the science. Physics doesn't care if we believe in it or not. The science was always there. We now had the tools to describe and control and experiment to increase our knowledge. And in hope, that would increase innovation. Immediately after, we have our first steam engine. And shortly after, steam-powered car and a steam-powered locomotive. Now, Steam was not new. Many, many thousands of years we understood steam. But can you imagine building steam in a closed container without understanding when it will explode? We needed these tools to enable innovation, which created the mechanism for us to move. The next phase of development was the study of electricity. The galvanometer introduced the ability to measure small electrical signals. Immediately after, we have a thermocouple. Here is a method electronically to accurately measure temperature. Then a Wheatstone bridge. This is an electronic mechanism that acts like a balance that can compare two forces very accurately. So now we have a way to make ultra-sensitive measurements. This lets us unify electric and magnetic physics, and I'm sorry to all the students out there today. These sensors still form the majority of the sensors in our world. The car you drove, the airplane you flew, everything in your home has roots to these sensors. Now, with this spark of innovation, we have internal combustion. We've brought together our thermodynamics, and we've created this study of electricity, and now we can actually put spark to fuel and have an internal combustion engine. Rapidly, we see the automobile form. Now, what happened for us now to essentially move to replace animal power with mechanization? It's these tools that allowed us to innovate that we were lacking at these times and these places. So now, only within 100 years from the steam engine, we take one more leap and began to fly. We have controlled, powered human flight, and in only 20 years later, we have our first modern rocket. So there's a pattern here. We have a tool that's created to make a measurement. The measurement teaches us new science. We apply that science and create new innovations. Those innovations help us move farther, faster, and explore broader. Now, more recently, in the 1950s, we create an electronic way to measure light. This is a photodetector. This is the first time we've ever measured light. Within 10 years, we have the birth of the laser. Now, many applications for these devices, but together, they allow mankind to rapidly communicate faster, over distance, faster than ever before. Within 2 years of the birth of the laser, we have an architecture for what will become the internet. This is now how we move our thoughts and ideas. The ability to send something new directly fuels the inventions that move us. This is what drives us. This is what drives our culture, society, and our lives now. It's not the discovery, it's the sensor that came before this discovery. Now, the road is not perfect. There's a little bit of a turn. If one sensor is good, surely 100 sensors must be better. This is a V2 rocket. This is the basis of all modern rockets today. It had exactly 2 sensors, and they were for pointing, up, down, left, right. It was not very reliable, but it functioned. In 25 years, over 2,300 sensors are used to take men to the moon. This is the same rocket. What did more sensors give us? More sensors gave us more knowledge gave us more control gave us reliability, safety, and performance. So I've learned here in Modena, there's also a sort of competitive mother trinity. Some of you may have this tattooed somewhere on your body. Fuel, air, and spark. Right? These are the ingredients for internal combustion. Our first car had exactly 0 sensors. The driver controlled fuel-air mixture. So what did you get? 24 horsepower. You have a lung full of air and exhaust and fuel and a lot of noise. Modern cars, you have about a few dozen sensors, but you have more safety, more reliability, and you have more performance. With 300 sensors, you get to sculpt the wind. But these are the same car. We did not change how the car works. We made it more complicated, we made it perform better, but we put in more moving parts. So, in every major leap we have seen, sea to steam, from flight to space, it did not happen because we had a flash of inspiration. It happened because we learned how to measure something new. That was the application that then led to discovery. Nobody wakes up and dreams up of an engine without knowing the science behind it. Because our limits are not what we are able to build, they are what we can sense. If we can't measure it and understand it, it's not going to happen, no matter how much we try. So, if we want to look what's in our box, we need to first understand we need a new sensor to help us. Thank you.